Hey guys, it's Rich, and this is video number 2 of the 77 question Witchy community tag. So if you haven't seen video number 1, go ahead and click right here, and I will have video number 1 linked to it. Like I said before, we're going to be doing 11 questions in each video. It will continue for an entire week of nothing but questions. So, with that being said, question number 12. What in the craft are you best at? Tarot, spells, ritual, etc. This one's a difficult one for me because I love divination. I love doing tarot readings, but I wouldn't say that's my best attribute. I do like doing spell work, but again, probably not my best. In a way, I'd say that the best thing that I do in the craft is probably the research aspect, the finding of new information or the harnessing of information, the hashing out of ideas, I guess, the community aspect of the craft, where we talk about different things that we like to do in the craft. I would say that would be my best attribute. And if that's not a good enough answer, I'd say meditation. Meditation, for me at least lately, is something that has been a really introspective type of work, something that I've been working on with this year in Korea, getting to know who I am, what my practice means to me, and how I interact with how my practice pertains to me. Question number 13. What in the craft would you say that you're weaker at? In this aspect, and I've touched on this a little bit before, it's the actually getting up off my butt and doing something. I do like to plan things out, just like planning out videos and planning out blog posts and stuff like that. I do like to plan things out and have my little to-do lists and all that stuff, and plan exactly what I'm going to do. But the actual effort of getting it done is quite the challenge for me. So I would have to say the go-get-em aspect of my practice, the getting up off my butt and actually doing ritual or doing a spell, would have to be the part that I'm weaker at. Number 14. What is your most favorite part of the craft? Spell writing, divination, etc. I would have to say that this would come in a tie of spell work and divination. As far as writing a spell out and the actual effort of writing the spell and incorporating certain herbs into a spell, I would have to say is one of my favorite things. But for me, divination is also a favorite part of my practice. I love to do a tarot spread, whether it be for me or for somebody else. I love to do oracle readings, and I haven't done oracle readings in quite a while. I love to do rune castings, again, something I haven't done in quite a while, and pendulum work. Pendulum work is one of the first things I've ever done, along with rune castings, and I love the aspects and what you can get from pendulum work and rune castings. So I would have to say divination in and of itself and all of its aspects that I've tried so far would have to be one of the things that I enjoy the most. But spell writing would be a close second, if not a tie for first. Question number 15. What was the first tool you ever purchased? Thinking of this, I actually have to go back to probably whenever I was in middle school or high school. I purchased a set of runes that I don't have anymore, and I kind of wish I did have them still. I got some very accurate readings from them, but my Christian thou shalt nots got in the way of those, and they are no longer with us. something I regret to this day, because I truly enjoyed the rune castings that I got from there, for the answers that I got from those rune castings. I really enjoyed that aspect of what would be my early practice. Also, one of the first tools that I bought was a pendulum, which I don't have anymore, and I don't know where it ended up. I think it got lost in one of the moves. But it wasn't anything special as far as elaborate or anything. It was a rock on a string that was a necklace. So, yeah, those were the first tools, and I bought them both at the same time, so I would have to say those are the first tools, and neither one of which I have anymore, and I wish I did. Number 16, what was your first homemade tool for your practice? One of my first homemade tools, if not the first, would be my pendulum board. It's actually in storage right now. I use it every so often. I don't use it very much. I have a video of it. It's one of my videos whenever I was still living in Kansas, so it's kind of an old video. It's actually one of my more watched videos, I guess, from the analytics here on YouTube. But I would say that's one of my, if not first, one of the first homemade tools that I've ever made. Another one would be my Ouija board, which I don't know if I still have. If I don't have it, I don't know where it ended up. And if I do have it, I don't know where it is. So, yeah, that's another one. Another one of the first made tools, if not the first, would be my old Book of Shadows. But for me, it was a little cumbersome, and it didn't really fit all of my needs, so I had to kind of deconstruct it and use it for other things. In the future, I hope to make a big Book of Shadows that would be that mighty tome that I've talked about in previous videos. Something that is sitting there waiting for me to write in and cast spells with and use in my magical practice. But I'm not really sure how I want that book constructed, so I haven't tried to redo a new Book of Shadows in that aspect. Number 17, what are your feelings on raising kids in the craft? As a gay guy, I don't really have much of a choice in having children. So, as far as having children and raising children, first I'd have to say that I'd have to find the right someone first. But as far as raising children, I would say that if I were to find somebody to have children with and to raise a child, I would pick the more let them choose their own way type of practice. Number 18, if you were a goddess or a god, who would you be? Well, I don't know if I can say that I've given this one much thought. I would hate to think that I could ever fulfill the role of a god. I'm going to have to decline an answer on this one, just because I can't really think at all of who I would be if I were a god, or part of a godhead. It's not something I can really wrap my head around, so with that one I'm going to respectfully decline to answer. Number 19, do you use astrology in your practice? In what ways? I don't use astrology in my practice primarily. I find it intriguing to look at the different astrological symbols and what they mean and how we relate to them, but it's not something that's really prevalent in my life. I do hold true to the Capricorn aspect that I am under, as it is my sun sign, but I don't work with astrology in that aspect of letting it define who I am and all of who I am. I have found it in the past when doing a tarot reading that it is a little helpful to know somebody's numerology and astrological sign when doing a reading. However, it doesn't always necessarily pertain to the reading. So, that's about all I have for number 19. Number 20. What, if any ways, could you practice dark magic and still respect the beliefs of Wicca? I don't necessarily look at the beliefs of Wicca the same way as many Wiccans do. Even whenever I consider myself a Christian Wiccan, I didn't necessarily fall under all of the same guidelines as Wiccans. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of things in the Wiccan Rede that I do follow. The "and it harm none, do as thy will." It is something that really does hold true for me to a certain point. As far as doing dark magic, though, I would have to say that whenever it comes to hexing, cursing, or anything of that sort, when you are up against the wall and you have to do what you have to do, what needs done needs to be done. It takes a lot of thinking, a lot of contemplation, a lot of planning, and a lot of leaving it up to the universe whenever doing any type of spell or ritual in that aspect. It is something that I've done very sparingly, and it is something that whenever it needed to be done, I did it. And that's it. It had to be done because certain people were doing certain things that needed to be rectified, or other people would be hurt. It's not something I do flippantly. It's not something that I would necessarily say I won't do again. It is something that has to be done when it needs to be done, in the way it needs to be done. I would have to say that the "and it harm none" aspect would, in this case, be more harm to people if I didn't do something rather than if I did do something. So in a way, me doing something rather than not doing something was a way of looking out for the greater good, rather than sitting back and not doing something and letting somebody who was not so good flourish. So I guess it would be the honoring of the greater good. And if that's confusing, then I will probably do another video, which I think I might do another video on hexes and curses altogether, because it is something that really does need to be examined within the pagan, witchy, Christo-Pagan community. So I think I might do a whole topic video on that. I don't know when yet, so keep tuned for that. Number 21, do you have any witches in your family? I have witchy type people in my family. I have people who I would consider kind of witchy. I have people who consider themselves pagan. One in particular that I know of. Others I don't really know. But as far as actual witches in my family, I'm not sure if they consider themselves witches. Like I said, some I would consider witches or witchy-like, and others I would definitely consider not witchy types. I would like to think that somewhere back in my family history, way far back in it, that there were a witch or two, and I'm sure there probably was, but I have not yet found them. In the future, whenever I do more of my ancestry, I do hope that I find one or two that I can connect with, but I have yet to find one. So maybe in the future I will share if I found one, but not yet. Question number 22. What item can you not witch without? This is actually a question that I have asked myself whenever moving here. What can I not witch without? I thought maybe candles or incense or something that I couldn't witch without, but no, I can definitely witch without those. And then I thought maybe my wand. No, one of my wands broke. So I can definitely witch without that. My other wand is still perfectly intact, but I find myself nowadays using it less and less. Chip, my crystal ball, and I have become working partners, but even before Chip, I was able to witch without Chip. So I guess there's not really any item that I cannot witch without. I will say that just about every day since, let's see, 2005, so well over a decade, I have worn a triquetra of some sort. So, at least since 2006, actually probably 2006, I would say. So, around a decade, I have worn a triquetra at some point in time, in some way, shape, or form. Now, there are a couple times here and there where my chain broke and I need to get a new chain or redo it. So there might have been a day or two where I did not have a triquetra on me, but for the most part, I have worn a triquetra just about every single day in the last decade. It has been present in my practice, it has been present in my daily life, it is something that I absolutely love. So I would say that the symbol of the triquetra is something that I usually don't witch without. So with that, that is questions 12 through 22. Join me tomorrow for questions 23 through 33. Until then, go ahead and make sure that you subscribe. You can check out the list of questions in their entirety by going to Christo-Paganism.com. And if you'd like to stalk me on Twitter, go ahead and do that here. Until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.